Well, as you can see by my clothing, I'm back from California, back from that spirituality retreat. Now, January in synagogue life is typically a quieter time, but not here at Community Synagogue. In fact, just this week alone, on Thursday morning, there is Talmud with training wheels with me. We're starting a whole new section of Talmud, so please come and join us in my study at 10 a.m. That night, for men only, ages 60 and younger, there's Bourbon and Bible. We're meeting at Wine at 5 in Rye. And then this weekend, of course, there's Shabbat services, 6:30 p.m. and again, Torah study at 8:45 a.m. on Saturday morning, followed by the retreat for our Board of Trustees. And on Sunday in the evening, our Tu B'Shvat Seder. Very, very busy, lots going on. And just as you can see here around me, folks, there is a lot going on in our construction. I know it's been a few weeks since we've brought you an update as to our Kadima construction project. You can see behind me a big hole in the wall where the ark used to lay, because that will be a window that will allow natural light in. You can see all the walls around me going up, and you will be even able to see that where there once upon a time was a stage, that area is no longer, as we've now expanded this space to be able to allow more light in and more opportunities to come together as a community. That idea of things slowing down or not slowing down, I think is so apt this week when we read this week's Torah portion, Parshat B'SHALACh. We find our ancestors, the Israelites, they've moved out of Egypt. They've come now to the Sea of Reeds, and Pharaoh has had a change of heart. He's hitched up his chariots once again, gotten his army in tow, and they've gone on to once again finish off the Israelites. If you've been to Universal Studios and you've gone on the tour, you've walked through you've driven through the water splitting in two. If you've seen the Ten Commandments, either the Charlton Heston version or the most recent version with Christian Bale, you also have seen that incredible scene with those walls of water. It is quite just a tremendous, tremendous miracle. In fact, the rabbis say it was the greatest miracle that ever occurred. And so after the Israelites have come through that Sea of Reeds on dry land and Pharaoh's army has been crushed, they begin their wandering into the wilderness. And no sooner do they wander a few steps than they start kvetching. They don't have enough water to drink. They don't have enough food to eat. And so God supplies their every need, giving them manna to eat and fresh water. And at the end of the Torah portion, fighting their battles with them against the evil Amalek. There's a wonderful teaching, though, in this parasha, and I think it's important that we are now in that period of time between the AFC and NFC championship football games and the Super Bowl. If you watched the games last night, you noticed, especially at the end, I noticed at the end of the Vikings Eagles game, as those two quarterbacks came and hugged each other at midfield, neither of them putting their finger into the other, saying, "We're better than you are." Well, at the end of the Sea of Reeds miracle in this week's Torah portion, there's a beautiful moment. Well, I don't know if it's so beautiful. There's a moment where the Israelites are cheering and singing and singing that song that we know is the song of the sea, Shirat Hayam, where they're singing that horse and driver, God is thrown into the sea. It's kind of like the first time we ever hear the na 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 hey goodbye song, and it's somewhat troubling that our ancient ancestors would be singing and dancing over the graves of others. And the rabbis of the Midrash were equally uncomfortable with this, because they make up a story. What's going on in heaven at the exact moment that our ancestors are singing and dancing their victory song? What they do is they say that up in heaven the angels are singing the same song. And God goes and silences the angels, saying to them, "How can you be singing at a time like this when my people, my Egyptians, my people are drowning in the sea?" As though to teach us that while we can celebrate our victories, we should never hold them over other people. We should always be thinking of others. We should always be mindful. We should always be aware of how our actions affect others. And so the angels quieted themselves, understanding that the Egyptians too, even though they put our ancestors in bondage for over 400 years, that they too were God's creatures, and they too were needed to have a sense of compassion be brought upon them. So folks, once again, I hope you've looked around during my talking at all of the wonderful new developments happening here, and also I hope you come to join us at so many of the wonderful ways you can engage with Judaism and open up your soul here at Community Synagogue over this next week. Wishing you again an early Shabbat Shalom.